Chapter 6, The Eternal Tide. All things flow in and out. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. This is the principle of rhythm, one of the great cosmic laws that governs all existence. Look at the ocean. The tide comes in. The tide goes out. An endless cycle that has repeated since the beginning of time. This same rhythm pulses through everything. Your breath flows in and out. Your heart beats in rhythm. The seasons change in cycles. Civilizations rise and fall. Economies boom and crash. Even your emotions swing between highs and lows. Joy and sorrow, enthusiasm and depression. Most humans are swept along by these rhythms unconsciously, tossed about like driftwood on the waves of cosmic forces they don't understand. But the initiate learns to rise above these swings. We learn to polarize ourselves at the point where we wish to remain, and then neutralize the rhythmic swing that would otherwise carry us to the opposite pole. In Atlantis, our adepts mastered this art. When depression threatened to overwhelm them, they refused to swing with the pendulum. They remained centered, balanced, elevated above the pull of opposing forces. When success and prosperity came, they did not become overly attached, knowing that all things must eventually recede. This is the secret of equanimity, of inner peace regardless of external circumstances. The Buddhist monks call it detachment. The Stoics called it ataraxia. We Atlanteans simply called it wisdom. You can apply this principle in your daily life. When anger rises, observe it without identifying with it. Know that it is merely the pendulum swinging, and it will pass. When elation comes, enjoy it, but do not cling to it, for it too is temporary. By understanding the principle of rhythm, you gain mastery over your emotional states. You become the observer rather than the victim. You ride the waves rather than being drowned by them. This is true freedom, not the absence of ups and downs, but the ability to remain centered through all fluctuations. Chapter 7, The Chain of Stars. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. This is the principle of cause and effect, what the Hindus call karma, what physicists call the law of action and reaction. Nothing happens by accident. There is no such thing as chance or luck in the universe. What appears random to the ignorant is actually the precise working out of universal law. Every thought you think is a cause set in motion. Every word you speak creates ripples in the fabric of reality. Every action you take produces effects that cascade outward, touching countless lives in ways you cannot imagine. You are constantly creating your future through the causes you set in motion today. Most humans live as effects. They react to external circumstances, blow with the winds of fate, and wonder why their lives seem beyond their control. But the master becomes a cause rather than an effect. The master moves consciously, deliberately, understanding that every choice creates destiny. In Atlantis, we taught our children from an early age. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the creator of your reality. Every condition in your life right now, your health, your relationships, your wealth, your emotional state, is the effect of causes you set in motion in the past. This may be difficult to accept. The ego resists taking responsibility. It prefers to blame others, to make excuses, to claim victimhood. But true power comes only when you acknowledge that you are the cause of everything in your experience. If you don't like your current reality, change the causes. Start thinking different thoughts, speaking different words, taking different actions. The effects will follow as surely as night follows day. This is not positive thinking or wishful manifestation. This is cosmic law. You cannot plant corn and harvest wheat. You cannot think thoughts of poverty and manifest abundance. You cannot radiate fear and attract love. The universe is precise, mathematical, absolutely fair. It returns to you exactly what you put out. This is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because you must take full responsibility. Liberating because it means you have complete power to change everything. Chapter 8, The Sacred Union. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. This principle embodies the truth that there is gender manifest in everything, the masculine and feminine principles ever at work. This is true not just on the physical plane where you recognize male and female bodies, but on all planes of existence. The masculine principle is active, projecting, giving, assertive, analytical, logical. The feminine principle is receptive, absorbing, nurturing, intuitive, holistic. Neither is superior to the other. Both are necessary, both are divine. The cosmos itself is the product of the union between these two forces. The ancient Chinese called it yang and yin. The Hindus spoke of Shiva and Shakti. The Kabbalists referred to the pillar of mercy and the pillar of severity. We Atlanteans understood it as the eternal dance between consciousness and energy, spirit and matter, thought and form. Every act of creation requires both forces. The masculine principle plants the seed, the idea, the intention, the blueprint. The feminine principle nurtures it, gestates it, brings it into manifestation. Without the masculine, nothing is initiated. Without the feminine, nothing is completed. Chapter 9. The Halls of Amenti. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, in chambers carved from living rock before your recorded history began, lie the Halls of Amenti. This is not metaphor or mythology. This is literal truth. I, Thoth, walked these halls countless times during my incarnation in Atlantis and again in ancient Egypt. The Halls of Amenti are the gateway between worlds, the interface between the physical plane and the higher dimensions. Here the Lords of Life maintain the machinery of reincarnation, overseeing the cycle of souls being born into flesh and returning to spirit. When a human dies, their consciousness travels to these halls. There they review their life, understanding the lessons learned and the karma created. They meet with guides and teachers who help them plan their next incarnation. They choose the circumstances of their next birth, their parents, their culture, their challenges, all designed to provide the exact experiences needed for their soul's evolution. But most humans have forgotten this process. They believe death is the end, a dark void from which there is no return. Or they cling to childish notions of heaven and hell, reward and punishment. The truth is far more magnificent and complex. Death is not an ending but a transition, a doorway, a return to your true home. The body is discarded like an old coat that no longer fits. But you, the consciousness, the eternal self, you continue. You have died thousands of times before, and each time you returned, wearing a new body, living a new life. This is why certain places feel familiar, though you've never been there. Why certain people feel like old friends upon first meeting. Why some knowledge seems to come from within rather than from learning. You are remembering fragments of past lives, echoes of ancient wisdom, skills developed over countless incarnations. In Atlantis, we developed techniques to consciously remember our past lives. Children as young as 5 could recall their previous incarnations with perfect clarity. This gave us tremendous advantages. We didn't have to relearn everything from scratch with each new life. We could pick up where we left off, continuing our studies and practices across multiple lifetimes. Imagine if you could remember the skills you developed in past lives, the languages you spoke, the arts you mastered, the wisdom you accumulated. All of it is still there, stored in your soul's memory, waiting to be accessed. The veils of forgetting are thinning. More and more humans are beginning to remember. This is part of the great awakening happening on Earth right now. You too can bend time, though perhaps not as dramatically as the Atlantean masters. Have you noticed how time seems to speed up when you're engaged in something you love and slow down when you're bored or suffering? This is not just perception. You are actually affecting the flow of time with your consciousness. When you are fully present, completely absorbed in the now moment, time seems to stop. Hours pass like minutes. This is a glimpse of eternity, of the timeless state that is your true nature. Conversely, when you're anxious about the future or dwelling on the past, time drags painfully. You're pulling yourself out of the present moment, fragmenting your consciousness across different time periods. Here is a practice from the Atlantean mystery schools. Whenever you catch yourself worried about the future or ruminating about the past, stop. Bring your full attention to this moment. Notice your breath. Feel your body. Observe your surroundings with fresh eyes. In that instant, you collapse time. You step out of the stream and into the eternal now. Do this consistently, and you'll find that you have more time, that life slows down, that you can accomplish more with less effort. Because you're no longer fighting against time. You're flowing with the eternal current that underlies all temporal experience. This concludes the teachings of chapters 6 through 10. You have received the keys to mastering rhythm, cause and effect, gender polarity, the mysteries of death and rebirth, and the nature of time itself. Use this knowledge wisely. The power is now in your hands.